If someone told me a year ago that wargaming will nerf Taran or Aviary, I would not have believed them. Well, fortunately, I was wrong, and finally the day has arrived where they nerfed Taran and Aviary, and this video will cover the Taran. So what exactly changed? Well, first, the moving concealment from 374 to 381 base, a 7 meters of nerf. Still concealment from 326 to 338, 11 meters of base nerf. Of course, when you have the skill done, so it's a little bit more, right? So overall concealment and on moving and stationary is a little bit more. So, but the 7 for relative terms will use the base value. So 7 on moving and 11 on still. Then the alpha is no longer the devastating 950 alpha, which basically made YAG useless. Why play a YAG which is always spotted and only does 100 more damage when you can play a Taran that does 950 and has better DPM? So now it is on par with 780 in an ideal world. I would say 750, but with the consumable and skill changes coming, these changes by itself doesn't look that bad or doesn't seem to make much impact, but with the consumable and skill changes coming, nerf to accuracy at DPM, this would be huge because Tank Destroyer will not be as strong as they are now. So currently Taran's still going to be strong, not as OP, but still OP, still on level with Grill, I would say, which is a very strong tank to begin with. But once the changes hit, then Taran will not be as strong and will not be that big of a problem. So the combination of both the nerf we receive now and what we will receive once we get the skills consumable, the equipment 2.0, would be acceptable. Then the reload was improved from 18.4 to 17.6, so it's a 0.8 second improvement. However, because alpha was changed by 100, the overall damage per minute was nerfed by 198. So from 3097 base to 2899. As I said, changes by itself wouldn't make much difference. Of course, it's something, right? It's something better than nothing. 950 was just too much, especially when you're facing tier 8 or poor tier 8s. It's still, they're going to have a rough life. But it helps a little bit. And of course, as I said, with the consumable equipment changes, it's going to be huge. And I'm looking forward to those. And now, coming back to the gameplay, how does it actually play in the game? As I said, the 10% alpha difference, straight up, that would mean you're doing 10% less damage per shot. So instead of doing a 10k damage, you would end up doing 9k. That would also mean you might not finish off tanks, where in normal scenarios you would, which means you could end up taking a little bit more damage or not. So overall, I would say this would make Taran is like very strong before this changes. So I would say about 15% or 15 to 20 in between, weaker than what it initially was. I would say close to 15, but it was just super OP. So it doesn't mean it's balanced now. It's still very strong. As I said, don't take it wrong. It's still very strong. It's still, Grill is OP, right? And it's still, I would say it's comparable to Grill now. Of course, it has less shell velocity, longer aim time, but with the alpha and concealment, it's still very solid. And so far, you've seen I've done 1600 damage. If I had played this game pre-Taran changes, I would have done 1900. Well, 200 more damage. So yeah. And that gun seems to just high roll a little bit more. I don't understand it, but that's what it used to happen. It would high roll more often than what it rolls now. But that would just be like a perception thing. And one of the games I even hit for below 700. That was beautiful, especially, I mean, someone receiving their shot. And I was saying, to put the concealment into perspective, Grill has a base concealment of 397 moving, 350 stationary, and Taran has still concealment 338, so 12 better and 19 better moving. So the concealment still better than Grill. You still have better alpha than Grill. You still have slightly better DPM than Grill. But of course Grill has better aim time and speed. So I would say it's on par with Grill, slightly still stronger, and Grill, as I said, is OP. But these tanks now are at similar level. So far I'm kind of struggling to get damage, but that's also could have been thanks to matchmaking. The change is that I just can't do damage anymore. So 4 shot, 3100 damage, as opposed to 3800 damage. And as I said, right, we're gonna roll 100 below average, or 100 below what I used to. And then of course that would mean sometimes I will not be able to get a kill, or sometimes I would also get like massive low rolls, but that comes down to average as well, which is good for matchmaking. Good for matchmaking. We are winning by 11 tanks remaining to 7, 300 damage, and well, still has the module damage there. A pen and a fire on Brask. You know, one thing I do think at times I should run advanced reloader on Taran so I can switch shells. I do feel that I should have the advanced reloader. By the way, the ET damage was also changed from 1200 to 1100, and do not underestimate the 850 though. As I said, yeah, it's weaker than what it was, but it's still no nonsense, because even the 850 you sometimes roll for 900, but yeah, sometimes you roll for 700 as well. As long if you're running for a double armor angling, you could get those rolls further down by additional 10%. So from 950 to 850, additional 10%, additional 85, that would be 765. But as I said, once everything is done, it would be fine. So far it's still OP, but after the changes, not so much. So 6,000 damage, just trying to, you know, kind of forcing myself to get that damage. As I said, the concealment difference is also there. Now I have, or I get exposed a little bit sooner. Those 10 or 11 base or 7 might not feel that much, but you have to remember during corners when you have to peek closely, that the 10 meters base or 15 meter, 11 meters base, which probably would be between 15 to 20 after everything is equipped, is a lot. You might not get spotted versus getting spotted, right? So anything related to concealment, when you have very good concealment, that it's cannot be ignored, as it's huge to get a shot without getting spotted, and then of course versus if you are spotted, because then you might miss a shot. So 7,800 damage, and if I had the ultra, I had a chance to kill that E4 as well. So running away, but the E4 was reloaded and he put me out of my misery as I was struggling to do some damage. Only 7,800 damage, which I'm not gonna lie is pretty sad for the old Taran. And as I said before, you would get like 11k or 12k games in Taran, and now you would get more close to 10k games playing the same level. And now I'm going to show you a previous game in the old Taran to see what exactly has changed. Look at the circle. Look at that circle. Going forward, it is a small map. It's not as big as Fort Beach we just played, but it is our OP Taran. Going forward, you know, it was one day before the changes, so I'm like, I'm just going to enjoy the OP Taran because I want to get it out of my system so I don't miss it much, that I'd missed the opportunity before. Because that's what happened with the Death Star. Just before I got the Death Star, or actually 4005, they nerfed, I don't know which one of those 183 tank was, so I only had the high alpha for like a week, and I was pretty disappointed to not exploit the high alpha. But this is what it is. That's what I was telling you, like with 950 I rolled a lot higher. Look at that shot, man. 1026. I don't know how this roll works, but man, that 950 gun was dangerous. It was dangerous, man. Look at that snapshot. Bang, 1700. He's dead. At the first roll, 1026. Oh, you basically destroy the morale of a tank with that roll. But as I said, good for us. It's not gonna happen anymore. Now what do we have? Another E100 crossing, and that is 978 roll as well. Not even spotted. If in this position I would get spotted. Look at the circle, how close I am to that tank that's crossing. So these kind of in small maps, 10 meters, 15 meters, you know, 20 meters, it makes a lot of difference, as it's not the concealment zone, right? It's basically the difference between whether you're spotted before firing the shot, if you're not. So in the same position, I might not be unspotted. Another 950 plus roll. This gun high rolled most of the time, at least that's what I remember. I always remember 900 rolls, but now I'm getting some 700 as well, right? It's just, this is like, obviously the alpha is only 100, but I just felt I see more high rolls. Well, that one was a low roll. So 4,300 damage, just peeking, slapping, and just repeating the same process. We are losing by 7% HP. same amount of tanks alive on both teams. And as I said, that 100 alpha in terms of grading is huge, right? Like for a 400 tank, for 400 opponent, like a heavy, let's say on an average, you're trading for 950. But that's the other thing. There was also a silent nerf to TDs happened a little while ago when they buffed most of the tanks alpha from 400 to 440 and 390 to 420. That was basically a silent nerf or power creep to tank destroyer. So now take both these things into mind. So before, a chieftain would hit for 400, a Taran would hit for 950. Now a chieftain would hit for 440 and a Taran would hit for 850. Now the difference is much less, and chieftain can also get like the second shot in. So essentially chieftain can trade if it pans 2 for 880, while Taran is only hitting for 850. Before it was 950 versus 880. So this is kind of, as I said, the first nerf was the nerf to every TD. Now there's an additional nerf to Taran, and of course with accuracy there's going to be third nerf, because tank destroyers have ruled the matchmaking for a very long time. They have made heavies useless. But with the changes, heavies and light tank, especially mediums, can still do okay because it's like a deal and gun, right? Heavies and light tank will be back to dominate games. Well, you know, more games than they dominate now. They're still gonna be, they're still strong tanks, right? E4 is still the best tank for brawling, or the best heavy. Taran still have concealment enough where you can do everything you were used to do, just a little bit less, right? A little bit worse. But all you have to do is you have to make sure you aim properly. You need to have all the crew skills equipped for the accuracy. And one thing, because you know, steady aim is gonna be gone. One thing, if you want to make the best of TDs, you might think about running gunning drive so you have that better accuracy. Gunning drive is one of the underrated perks, but the way it works is, right, the area, it is a 10% better speed, but the area of accuracy, it's much better than that. So you can kind of test it out, but gunling drive is an underrated perk, and your accuracy for these tank destroyers is going to be very useful. Gunling drive is essentially the stabilizer of tank destroyers, because they can't equip stabilizer. And when currently I don't want to stab on mediums, but then I have to once they remove all these perks, right? But similarly for TDs, you have to run the GLE. If you want to be, you know, more like as snappier or close to as snappier as you are now, it's gonna be difficult. At least that's my prediction anyway. So 6300 damage, 9v9, slow game, just playing around the same corner, going back and forth, penning some shots, missing rest of the shots, and just dominating. Again, like, I think if I was in the previous version, I might be spotted here. I did get spotted right here because that guy peeked. Didn't realize that I rushed my shot, missed. I missed. So now, again, this is a perfect example. He has 1800 health, which is the difference between currently it's 2 shots for me, but post change it's gonna be 3 shots. And as I said, sometimes we kind of underrate the alpha. We say it's only 100, but it's not. It's just not the 10% worse, right? I would say the Taran is 15% worse. But again, it's become slightly irrelevant because it's still as strong as Grill, and we all know how strong Grill is. So 7300 damage. Ruthless gets spotted. He rushed his shot, missed. I didn't. Bang. 87 damage. 6v8. Our team is losing, but not to worry. No pressure. The OG Taran was never under pressure because it would always win. It would always win, or at least do enough damage where you will not be disappointed. The MBTB blind fired. I didn't even spot him, so I don't know why he blind fired. But he's right over there again. Not even aimed, boys. Not even aimed. Bang. And as I said, you won't be able to do these kind of things once the consumable skill that equipment changes, right? You need GLE, because steady aim currently is broken. Essentially, steady aim, instead of increasing just the base accuracy, what it does is improve your snapshot by 18% in total, or is it 19%? And then on the move accuracy by 10% as well. So like steady aim alone is better than the snapshot and gonna run and gun combined. So, and that's going away, right? It's not this 10% base accuracy the way they worded it. Nonetheless, the 3v6, I am under pressure. The heavy tank who was distracting everyone is now dead. I'm at 11k damage, pen 1 Ruthless, and this one comes around the corner, bang, he killed me. Nonetheless though, I am happy, 11k damage, even though it's a loss. Well, We could always run more, but still, you could see the difference. The amount of effort taken to do the 7800 damage was kind of similar to what it took to do 11k before. That's it for this video. Do let me know in comments what you think about the changes and if you're happy with them. Catch you later.